Hey everybody, welcome back to another Science Sunday. I'm here with my assistant Noelle and we're at the pool to do some science about waves. We're in our lessons on the life of Jesus and his travels throughout the Holy Lands. And let's get to it. Alright, so let's read from Mark chapter 4. It says, "That evening Jesus said to his followers, 'Come with me across the lake.' He and his followers left the people there. They went in the boat that Jesus was already sitting in. There were also other boats with them. A very strong wind came up on the lake. The waves began coming over the sides and into the boat. It was almost full of water. Jesus was in the back of the boat, sleeping with his head on the pillow. The followers went to him and woke him. They said, 'Teacher, do you care about us? We will drown.' Jesus stood up and commanded the wind and the waves to stop. He said, 'Quiet, be still.' Then the wind stopped, and the lake became calm. Jesus said to his followers, 'Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?' The followers were very afraid and asked each other, 'What kind of man is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him.'" All right, so we're going to do some science here to show you how waves work. So in the passage, you heard how the wind was blowing and it was creating this storm. And so I thought it would be interesting to show you what it is that actually causes waves to happen on the ocean. So we've got our laboratory right here, and Noelle is going to generate some wind for us and show you what happens when the wind pushes against the surface of the water. All right, go ahead, Noelle. So you can see how the wind is pushing the water, and this is what happens in the ocean, is the wind pushes against the water and it creates these ripples, and these are the waves. And here it's not that big. You know, our waves here are not that big, but look how far they travel. They come all the way down to the other end of the pool. You see that? And that's all from the waves that are created by the wind way over there. So these waves can travel extreme distances through the ocean, and it's all caused by a storm somewhere very, very far away. All right, so we're gonna do our experiment one more time, but this time we have a boat that we're gonna use, and we put some disciples in there. So we got Mark and John.
This will be Jesus.
And Luke.
In summer.
Captain Luke. And then
he's like stop.
No, this is Jesus right here.
No, this will be Jesus.
The Hulk.
Because he's saying like stop.
All right.
You know?
All right. So put
this
our boat in the lake.
Wait, let it go, guys.
Okay. So they're just out on the lake, just going across. They're out on the sea. All right, let's move them out. There we go.
And here comes.
Oh wait, Noelle, don't point that directly at them because it'll. Yeah. Oh, the boat is rocking.
Hey Olaf, are you okay?
All right, so we're going to demonstrate what these waves look like when they're moving. So it's hard to see in the water, so we're going to use this giant spring here. Noelle, can you see the entire spring? Make sure you're far enough back so you can see the whole thing. So we're going to use the spring to show you how the wave moves. So what happens is the wind will push the water, and so it builds up in one section of the water, and the water will go up. But if the water goes up in one section, it has to go down in another. So it kind of looks like this. Watch what happens when I move up. You see how it goes? It travels along the spring. Let me do that one more time. I'll go a little bit faster, and you'll see it goes from this side to that side. And what happens when it hits something, it actually reflects and it comes back. See how it's moving back and forth, that wave? And that's what a wave looks like. That's what's happening in the water. Now, sometimes you see waves that aren't moving. They're just kind of staying still. You see the water going up and down and up and down. That's called a standing wave. We can kind of do that with this. You see how it's doing that, where the middle is going up and down, but that's it. It's not moving back and forth. This is called a standing wave, and sometimes that happens because it alternates between the top, the middle going up and down, and the sides going up and down. And depending on the frequency, which means how fast the water is moving up and down, you can get more waves. So watch this. We can actually get 2 waves out of this. See that? And so how many waves you get out of it in a given distance is called the frequency. And then how high those waves are, that's called the amplitude. So these are all about waves. Now, if we have a higher frequency, which means that we go up and down faster, you'll actually get more waves. So we saw 2 there. If we do it faster, we can get 3 waves, like this.
Try getting 5 waves.
You want to try? All right, let's try to get 4 waves first. So if you go a little bit faster.
That's 1, 2, 3.
Wait, let me try it. Let me try it again. There we go.
4. Whoa.
Get 4 waves.
What if we back up? We'll get more?
All right, now if we go faster, now again, this is how fast the movement is going up and down will depend on, or will dictate how many waves you get. All right, here we go.
Whoa! How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Oh,
the shadow.
that hurts my arm. Oh yeah, the shadow is really cool.
Whoa, that is cool. It's like your DNA. That's like your DNA.
Isn't that crazy?
Whoa, it's like this. Oh my gosh. That is cool. Whoa. The shadow's the same, but it looks like it's going back and forth, but it's spinning while going back and forth. Wait, I want to see if I can
So here's the crazy thing about waves. We're talking about waves in the water, but there are also waves in a lot of other things. When I'm speaking, the sound that you hear, those are waves of compression in the air. So those are waves of air getting compressed, and that's what our ears hear. And also light. Light is a wave. And so the different colors that you see are different wavelengths. So it's basically, so if you're thinking about this as colors, you know, this going this fast in the electromagnetic spectrum might be red, and then going faster would be something like blue. And that's how light works. So they're all waves. It's really crazy.
If you spin it, I go up and down.
All right.
And if you put it on the ground, it makes a sound. Put it on the ground. You ready?
Because it's vibrating it. Sounds like a laser beam. Okay, thanks, Noelle. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for another Science Sunday. We learned a lot about waves, and we learned about how Jesus can calm the storm. He has the authority and the power to tell the wind to stop. And we learned the story about how he was in the boat and the storms were going, and he said, calm down, and they all just stopped because he has the power to do that. So the one last thing I want to say is when you're thinking about this story, the one thing to remember is you got to stay in the boat, okay? Because Jesus is in the boat, and you want to stay with him, because if you don't stay in the boat, then bad things can happen. All right, well, see you guys next week. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for another Science Sunday. We learned a lot about waves, and we learned about how Jesus can calm the storm. He has the authority and the power to tell the wind to stop. And we learned the story about how he was in the boat and the storms were going, and he said, calm down, and they all just stopped because he has the power to do that. So the one last thing I want to say is when you're thinking about this story, the one thing to remember is you got to stay in the boat, okay? Because Jesus is in the boat, and you want to stay with him, because if you don't stay in the boat, then bad things can happen. All right, well, see you guys next week.